What's up, ladies, gents, and everyone in between? This is another episode of the Shoe Booty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Graham Powell, on this screen. That's Bradley Brown on the other. Say what's up, Bradley.
What's going on?
Rocking a different color Titleist hat today, going with the white instead of the gray. Blends in well with the background. Before we get started, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Shoe Booty Sports is presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, 10K, half marathon, a marathon, and the one-of-a-kind Rhino Ultra. You can sign up for one or all 5 of their races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience, track it with your fitness app of choice, screenshot your results as proof of completion. Submit that screenshot to rhinoraces.com under the Submit Results section. Once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section while you're there for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. That's rhinoraces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series, and you can find us, Shoe Booty Sports, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on X at Shoe Booty Sports. So, did you check out the Razorback basketball game tonight against Miami?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I flipped over, started watching a couple minutes before halftime. So
I caught the last 3 minutes. Caught the very last 3 minutes of the game. I think it was 3:08 that was left on the clock when I was keeping up with the score. I saw that they were down the whole game. I mean, weren't they
whole
down
game,
the entire game?
whole game. Yep.
See, I watched them play. Who was it? Illinois on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, that was an awful game.
That was, but see, here's the thing: the 2 times I've really just sat down and watched the Razorback men's basketball team play, both were losses. It was some of the Baylor game, and I watched the entire Illinois game, and it was the same story. They cannot buy a bucket. I mean, they just
Yeah.
don't have shooters. They have good athletes. They have really good athletes. Adu Thero, or however you say his name, Boogie Flan. I mean, they got very athletic guys. It's very similar to what Muss did when he was here. He had very athletic players, but he didn't have guys that could shoot. And that's been the case with this team. They did come back and get the win tonight at Miami. Of course, Miami was 3-4 going into this. It wasn't the Final Four Miami team from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Not the same team that you're playing. Razorbacks are 6-2. Nothing to get too excited about. I don't think they're in the top 25 anymore, are they?
No, no, not with that loss to Illinois. Dropped them out. So
And here's the thing I noticed. Like on paper, Arkansas was the better team, at least the more talented team. I'll put it that way. Compared to Illinois. Illinois just they played better as a team. 1, 2, they were just more fundamentally sound. They had guys that could shoot. They had ball movement. It was too much. I don't want to say ISO, but they just don't have guys that can shoot. You got to have shooters. You got to put the round thing through the hoop.
yeah.
I heard a coach say you got to put the brown thing in the round thing, or it's not going to work. But the ball's not brown. That kind of threw me off a little bit. But it
Yeah.
rhymes with round. So I guess if you're going now, this was like a high school basketball coach. So they're probably used to those brown faded balls, in the gym and practices and stuff. So it makes sense there. But you're not dealing with that at the collegiate level or the SEC level for sure. But yeah, just they don't have guys that can shoot. That's the most noticeable thing to me.
Well, they shot the ball well in the last 5 minutes of the game tonight. So they started getting some threes to fall. Uh, but yeah, from what I've seen from the Illinois game, I didn't watch a whole lot of it just because we're missing after about the fourth or fifth point blank miss, like within 2 minutes, I just turned the channel. It's like, yeah, I don't need to be watching this.
Didn't it
So
start out 11-0?
yeah,
Yeah, it was nothing to get. I was sitting there watching with my family, so it wasn't. It was very frustrating early, but I was like, maybe they can turn it around. and it seemed like an 11-point game the entire game. Of course, it jumped to 15 at times, and they'd get it to 9, but that was as close as they got, and
Yep.
it was not entertaining from a Razorback fan's perspective. If you're an Illinois fan, sure, but not from a Razorback fan's perspective. All right, tell us something else that's going on in the sports world, Brad, while I clear my throat real quick.
The college football playoff rankings were released about an hour ago. Um, I don't know if I'm surprised how far Ohio State fell, or surprised how far they didn't fall in the rankings. Because man, they looked bad on Saturday.
I didn't watch
Like,
the game. Didn't they drop to like 6th?
I think they dropped to 8.
Oh, they dropped 6 spots. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. I saw that on the screen wrong. So yeah, dropped to 8. I assume yeah, Oregon still top spot as they should be.
yep.
Who's 2 now? Texas?
Texas.
Makes sense. Of course, Texas going to the SEC championship game, their first year in the SEC. So
Of course, why not?
yeah, it's a good way to make an entrance. Oklahoma has struggled so far, but in their first year, but maybe they can turn it around. Things are looking up for Texas. Who is is it Texas, Georgia?
Texas, Georgia.
Okay, that ought to be a good one. That's Saturday, I assume.
Yeah,
Okay. It's usually an afternoon game. Is that correct? I've obviously,
I think it's usually in the like around 2:30.
yeah. You and I watched the SEC championship game in Brussels, Belgium, about a year
Yeah,
ago. That was fun, interesting, unique watching it on your cell phone. But that was a heck of a
yeah.
game. Of course, Alabama
At
won that.
kickoff at 10:30 at night or whatever it was.
It was very late. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
late over there for us. We had stayed up pretty late to finish that one, but it was fun. It was worth it. And speaking of Alabama, Alabama, of course, is the 1-3 loss team in the college football playoff. What did I told you it was going to be something like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
And like Alabama will always kind of find it's always going to be Alabama. If it's going to be a
yeah.
3-loss team, it's going to be Alabama. You know it. Even without Nick Saban there, it's still Alabama. They've got that. I don't know bias, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is if Georgia loses, well, I mean, they already said Alabama can stay in as a 3-loss team, so might as well be Georgia too. So I was gonna say maybe they bump out and somebody bumps in, but I don't think that'll happen.
Well, here's the thing that like they say you shouldn't punish a team based on having to play in a conference championship game, but
Yeah.
it does matter how you look in that conference championship game.
Yes, it does.
I mean, if it's a battle, then yeah, it's not going to be held against you one way or another, really. I mean, it'll help your seeding, obviously, if you win, but
Mm,
it's not necessarily going to knock you out. But if you look like trash, I'm not going to blame somebody to want to vote you out if you're on that fence of getting in or not. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So I don't think it's black and white. I think there are many shades of gray in between, and you just got to look at it on a case by case base as far as that goes. Who would you or who are you picking in the SEC championship game Saturday?
Texas.
Really? No
Yeah.
hesitation.
Yeah. No hesitation. Texas.
I think Texas is the better team. Well, Georgia's just so wildly inconsistent, and to beat Georgia Tech, who's not a bad team. I mean, it's not
No.
a bad team, but what eight overtimes. Of course, that it's not the same as the like the 7 overtime games Arkansas had, where you get a full possession. At a certain
Yeah.
point, it's just you're exchanging 2-point plays. Like it's not the same thing. So it's weird. I don't think it's fair to necessarily call it 8 overtimes, but then again, what else do you call it? I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
care that.
really hoping we were going to get to 10 overtimes just to see if the graphic would fit on the score graphic. So, but we didn't get it. Shame.
Yeah, I didn't see the game. I don't even recall necessarily what I was doing Saturday to where that didn't. I watched football. Like that's the thing. I watched. Well, wait. When was the game? Was it even a Saturday game or was it Friday?
Believe it was Saturday.
Okay, because I didn't watch it. I didn't watch much football Friday just because I had to go back to work. Um, but yeah, for whatever reason, I missed that. Maybe I just assumed Georgia would lock it up. But I don't know, man. There were a lot of good football games Saturday.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was.
but that would have been exciting to see. Some of your favorites from the weekend from the college.
That game was on Friday, so that's the reason why you can't remember what you're doing.
Okay, I was saying like, how did I miss that game? Because I kind of made it a point to. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a lot to do this weekend. I did my last mow of the year the weekend before the last. So I knew I didn't have that. I remember making it a point, like I was going to watch football Saturday. And yeah, I missed that one. So that's why the game was on Friday. But a lot of good games Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
Going back to it, some of your favorites over the weekend. College ranks.
Well, I mean, I watched a lot of the Michigan Ohio State game. I mean, since it was close, it was a good game. But other than that, I mean, it wasn't exactly a barn burner. It was 13-10. So I was happy to see that South Carolina beat Clemson. Um,
I was not
and
as a guy that likes Clemson, but I can
well,
understand it if you don't like Clemson.
yeah. And man, Vandy had me going there for a little bit, dude. They got my hopes up. Whenever I seen the score flash across the bottom of the screen, it was fairly close, but it was before halftime. And then in the second half, Tennessee woke up and took off with it. I didn't get to
Uh,
watch any of that game.
well, Travis Hunter, I think pretty much, I think he locked up the Heisman with his performance against Oklahoma State. I know Oklahoma State it hasn't had a good year by any means, but I mean
They beat
Colorado's
them
what nine and
Razorbacks.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not saying much. Colorado's 9-3. Travis Hunter had over 100 yards, what 3 touchdowns and an interception
And an
on
interception. Yeah.
defense. Now the running back for Boise State was it Ashton? I can't say it's like it like
Gene T.
Jeanty. Okay.
Gene T.
I mean he's got as good of an argument as anybody to challenge Travis Hunter for it. But if you're a voter, I don't see how you don't give it
Oh.
to Travis Hunter.
Well, Gene T had what? He had a running. He had plenty of yards on the ground, but he had one rushing touchdown. But there's a moment, I think it was in the fourth quarter, where they got down inside the 20 and he fumbled the ball like on the 11-yard line or something. And the Vegas odds of Travis Hunter winning the Heisman like doubled. They went from minus 2,000 to like minus 5,000. So he pretty much doubled his favorite to win the Heisman just on that
Last
one play.
last I checked, it was what like minus 10,000. He's the favorite.
Yeah, probably now. Yeah.
Yes, this was at the end of the game. I saw this. I didn't get my hopes up on Vandy in Tennessee. I figured I saw it was close, and I just said, "Oh, okay." But
Figured as yeah, I had the same reaction. I said split second got my hopes up.
like you knew that wasn't going to last. At least that's
No.
what it felt like to me. South Carolina's. I watched pretty much that whole South Carolina Clemson game. Uh, Clemson was the better team. They should have won, but they could not stop. They didn't have an answer for South Carolina's quarterback down the stretch. For what I guess the Clemson defense got gassed, and I think that guy's a freshman. The South Carolina quarterback. I mean, he was running
Yeah,
all
he is a
over.
freshman. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to do some damage in the next couple of
Yeah.
years.
He looks
Uh,
good, man.
yeah. And Cade Klubnik, every time, I mean, his numbers are really good, but every time I watch him play, I'm not impressed. Every time. I mean, he'll make like a throw every now and then. You're like, okay, that was a good throw. But every time I see him play, I'm not impressed. He doesn't value possessions. He's okay. You know how Caitlin Clark will have just a turnover on numerous possessions throughout a game, and you're just like, what was she thinking, making that pass or trying to make that pass? That's what I. Here's the thing: you get another possession though on basketball pretty quickly. The possessions in football are very valuable, and on 3rd and 4, instead of just getting the ball past the sticks for a first down, maybe on a, I don't know, a 6-yard out or something like that, Cade Klubnik decides to throw a low percentage deep ball up for grabs down the field on 3rd and 6. And of course, that results in a punt. And that's how you end up losing games 17-14 because your quarterback, who's a veteran at this point, doesn't value third down possessions. And how I don't understand how that's not been coached into your brain to the point where it sticks. And I mean, Dabo's a proven successful coach, so it can't be that. I just don't know what's going on between the ears of Cade Klubnik on 3rd down. Makes no sense to me to be doing that. But it was an exciting game nonetheless.
What's the kid's name for South Carolina, the quarterback? Is it Sellers?
Yeah,
does that sound right?
Yes, that does. It's an interesting first name, like Denoris or something like that.
Yeah, and he wears some thick rim glasses. Yeah. Just balls out.
Yeah, heck of a ball player. I don't know if it's the last remnants of this cold sticking around that's bothering me right now, or if it's the cat that I've brought in the house and have let stay inside overnight the last week or so. No regrets.
That'd probably be my vote.
So here's the thing, though. Like at a certain point, you get used to like one particular cat. At least this is what I'm told. And I thought it was BS, but then it actually happened. I was like, I am not sneezing anymore or anything like that. But I did have a cold, of course, 2 weeks ago, and I'm just now kind of gotten off of cold medicine within the last few days, and it could be that too. So I really don't know. It really didn't hit me until this started, until I decided to hit record. It started, so that's great timing. But
yeah.
Yeah, the South Carolina quarterback, very impressive. Going to wreak havoc on the SEC in the next couple over the next few years. I assume South Carolina didn't make the playoff, or at least what we see, because if they would have had to have gotten in now if they were going to.
Yeah. Now they were them and Ole Miss are on the outside looking in. They're ranked 13 and 14. So
Well, that's right, and they're both 3-loss teams. Yeah. And of course, if you're only going to have one 3-loss team in there, it's going to be Alabama, of course. Even though they got and I know it's a rivalry game with Auburn, but 28-14.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's
at home.
Yeah. I mean, Arkansas looked like the better team against Auburn when they played. Like just looking at it out there, I was like, Arkansas is the better football team. So that's what blew my mind when what's his face? Hugh Freeze. I genuinely like drew a blank on his name. Wasn't trying to be disrespectful. But yeah, when he made the comment afterward, like they win that game 10 out of 10 times or whatever it was, had they played. I was like, no, you wouldn't. You're not that good of a football team.
No.
Like you're not a good football team. That's how you finish 5-7. But still, it's Alabama. They're going to get the nod even without Saban there apparently.
And right now they're projected to be facing Notre Dame. So that'd be a fun first round matchup.
It would, and honestly, I don't know who I'd pick in that. I'd probably pick Alabama.
Yeah, I'd roll with Alabama.
Yeah, if I were betting money, I would probably pick Alabama to win
Yeah.
that. I would be, yeah, I would be interested to see that. I mean, I'd be interested to see all the matchups. Let me look
Ten-
at it since I don't even
Tennessee
apparently
and Tennessee and Ohio State are projected as a matchup as well.
try. There it is. Okay. All right. So, all right. This is why I was looking it up. Is SMU in? SMU is not only in, they got a bye.
Yeah. They're safely in.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's in 2024. SMU is in the college football playoff. Now they play in the ACC championship game.
Yep.
Who is it they play? It's not Clemson. Somebody. they're
Yeah.
they're gonna play somebody. Um yeah, not now, ESPN app. Yeah, I can't pull it or I can't find it on here. It's just yeah, I'm trying. I can't find the thing. Oh no, they do.
But
They have Clemson. It's Clemson in the ACC championship game Saturday night, 7 p.m.
yeah. If Clemson wins, they're in.
You think so?
That's what they're saying.
And then SMU
What?
is, I guess, just going to get kicked out
Yeah.
altogether. Just kind of weird, but I also get it. I don't know. It's something. I I don't know. Looking at the rosters, I'd probably say Clemson should probably win that game. But I also haven't seen SMU play this year, and I assume they're 11-1 for a reason. And I do really like Rhett Lashley as a coach. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
Saturday's gonna have some pretty good matchups. You also got Oregon and Penn State playing. Looks like at the same time as the Clemson SMU game. Then of course Georgia Texas. Then you have UNLV going against Boise State, which you wouldn't figure Boise State would have a problem with them, but I don't know. UNLV's been pretty entertaining to watch the couple of times I've been able to catch them on TV.
There's going to be an upset. There's going to be an
Oh
upset.
yeah,
There
yeah,
always is. And I would say that would be one that could happen.
good possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the candidates for that. Okay, let's touch up a little bit on the battle line rivalry game before we end with some NFL
Wow.
football. But I said just for a little bit. It went about like I thought it would.
Yeah.
Missouri was the better team and pulled away down the stretch. So what's this about Petrino inter- leaving the interview for the Charlotte head coaching job and then just withdrawing from consideration? I'm guessing he knows something we don't know.
Probably. I mean, I would hope so.
I don't know. I saw that guys are entering the transfer portal. Andrew Armstrong is declared for the draft as he should.
As he should, yeah.
He's been the one bright spot really for the Razorback offense all season.
Leading the SEC in receiving, yes, pretty good.
In receiving yards, he has one whopping touchdown. That's a travesty to lead the best conference in college football in receiving yards, and you have just one touchdown to show for it. That's pitiful. But I don't know. It's the Hogs are going to a bowl game. They were competitive with Missouri. I can't complain too much. I can complain because it's constant mistakes, it's constant flags,
Yeah.
constantly shooting yourself in the foot, just dumb
What do you
stuff.
think about the timeouts before the 2 minute stop? Let's burn in two timeouts before the 2 minutes.
I wasn't crazy about it, but I didn't hate it like in the moment. Just looking at it, I was like, I mean, you're just trying to
Yeah.
you're looking at it as you get that you have that extra time out with the 2
Yeah.
minutes. That's how I saw it. So I didn't think too much of it. I don't know. I get like Taylor Green is what he is. Like he was the same quarterback at Boise State. Just look at his numbers, and his numbers tell you that. And he's a playmaker with his legs, but he's not always going to get it done throwing the football. He missed Armstrong on a throw that would have continued the drive and could have kept the momentum for Arkansas offensively, kept Missouri's offense on the sideline. When they did score to take the lead that last time, Arkansas, I was like, yeah, that's way too much time.
Yeah.
Missouri.
You had the same thought I did. We've seen how this movie ends plenty of times. It seems like every freaking year it's close with Missouri. We take the lead and they have 2 to 3 minutes and change, and they go down and score and win. It's
Missouri
had,
now
yeah, it's stupid.
they now lead the series 12-4 over Arkansas. Uh, they have Arkansas has never won in Columbia football in a football game. Arkansas has never
Yeah.
won in Columbia.
My question is, what is the deal with Oklahoma versus LSU on rivalry week? Why would you not keep Arkansas LSU on Thanksgiving weekend and just make Oklahoma and Missouri play each other because they share a border? That could be a rivalry game instead of forcing it down the throat of LSU and Oklahoma fans. Be a rivalry because they only met each other twice in the regular season before. It's not like it's a rivalry.
You're trying to create a new rivalry. They did the same thing with
Yeah,
Arkansas and Missouri
yeah, but and see how much both fan bases like it. They don't care.
because you're in year two. You're in year two, and neither team
I
has had a
mean,
good year.
we're in year what, 10 with Missouri? I mean, still don't feel any different about that game.
Well, because Arkansas hasn't been successful. Arkansas has gotten their asses handed to them for the bulk of the rivalry. It hasn't been a rivalry. It's
No,
been all Missouri. Um, I'm open to creating new rivalries or trying to like I'm fine with it. You're bringing in additional teams, so naturally there's going to be a shuffle, and you're going to have to create some new rivalries. You can't just stick to the same old stuff because LSU didn't care about Arkansas. They didn't see that as a as a
yeah, but they
rivalry.
would see. I'm sure they would see us more as a rival than Oklahoma.
Maybe. I don't know. It's time will tell. I have no problem with it. If we're shaking it up, I'm cool with it. I'd like to see Arkansas
I
beat
just asked
Missouri
the
for once,
question. Well, yeah,
and I'm answering.
I would too.
Yeah, I'm giving my take on it. I understand that my take on it really isn't the popular opinion. It's I think how you feel about it is consensusly at least how Arkansas fans feel about it. But I don't see eye to eye with most or many Arkansas fans on a lot of things. So it
No,
makes
it's hard to.
it's hard to what.
It's hard to see eye to eye with them most of the time.
That's true. Well, well, here's my thing about it. I thought, um, okay, when Arkansas joined or when Missouri joined the SEC and created the Battle Line rivalry trophy and all that, Arkansas fans had this like smugness about them, like Missouri wasn't worthy of like being on the same playing field as Arkansas. And I'm like, where is this arrogance
It,
coming from? What is
I don't
Arkansas
know
doing?
because it's not like what a handful of years prior they whooped our team with Darren McFadden in the bowl game.
Yeah,
Like
I didn't understand where that
wipe the floor with us.
I didn't understand where the arrogance was coming from. I was like, Arkansas has done nothing in football.
No,
There's nothing to be yeah, Missouri absolutely. You should accept this rivalry, this rivalry game, and get excited about it. Or you don't even necessarily have to get excited about it, but don't think that Missouri's not on your level. They're above your level right now. But yeah, I mean, you make a point there. So that's kind of why I feel the way I do about it there. Um, I don't know. I just I'm open to trying to create new rivalries because LSU they only saw Alabama as a rival and still may only see them as a rival. They didn't care about the battle of the boot. And Arkansas won those games as a stretch or over a good like 3-year stretch because LSU kind of looked past them because a lot of times that game would come after the Alabama game. They'd get so
Yeah.
up for that game, LSU, and then they'd lose it, and then they'd be down going into that week, and Arkansas would take advantage of that. At least that's how I saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right in the sense that it's not a natural rivalry, LSU Oklahoma. I understand what you mean by that, but at the same time, I'm okay with trying to create something there. I mean, you're in the same conference now, so let's just see. That's how the
Yeah.
schedules matched up. And hey, Arkansas, Missouri, you can say it's not a game to be excited about, but it looked like a hell of a rivalry game Saturday. I mean, they were getting into it well after the whistle every play, and I was fine with it.
I think there was only one rivalry game that didn't have a brawl in it, which nothing's going to beat the one at the end of the Ohio State Michigan game. I mean, those players got pepper sprayed, man.
Yeah,
Like,
um,
who does that?
there was a lot of that over the weekend, even at the pro level. We'll touch up on that before we get out of here.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
what'd you think of the hit on Trevor Lawrence? By the way, Azeez Al-Shaair, or I think is how you say his name.
That dude
What's
can
your take on
apologize.
it?
That dude can apologize all he wants to, dude. That was a dirty hit. He had enough time to not launch with his forearm and helmet. He had enough
Yeah,
time to steer a little bit further away from the sliding Trevor Lawrence.
or just not lead with your forearm, and I
Yeah.
mean, and still going hard at the play. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was okay. Here, I heard Mark Schlereth. I heard his take on it, and just saying, what are you supposed to do there if you're Al-Shaair? And he was basically defending him, so saying Trevor Lawrence slid late and all that. He's a runner and he
Oh,
slid late. It's just a completely wrong and incorrect take. And uh, if you're taking Al-Shaair's side, like Schlereth did, like the Texans GM, like D'Amico Ryans, it's one you're just wrong. You're
yeah.
you're you're either dumb or you're so biased that it's clouded your judgment. And it's just wrong to say that to defend him in this case. One, a repeated offender, and two, I mean, it was an egregiously dirty play,
Yeah.
complete cheap shot. Trevor
I mean,
Lawrence was clearly giving himself up on the play, and you lead with you keep your momentum going and lead with your forearm, driving your forearm into his face mask, and therefore him driving the back of his head into the turf.
yeah.
And the melee that ensued was very warranted. And as far as
Yep.
the suspension goes, he is being suspended 3 games. That seems light to me. Now he only makes 1.5 million a year, and missing these 3 games is going to cost him a quarter mil. So I don't know if it's fair. I think it would have been fair to sit him the rest of the season
Yeah.
or suspend him the rest of the season without pay. 'Cause I thought it was that bad. You got to send a message to a repeated offender that we're not tolerating this. We're not tolerating this from you anymore. And so I don't. I think it's a classless move for the Texans to be. Like I said, it's one thing to stick up for your player and teammate, but he was completely in the wrong there. And
Yeah.
I've lost some respect for that organization because of this take on it. It's because it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. There's no way you can defend this. Oh, Trevor Lawrence is all right. That's all I can say. If I were the Jags, I'd shut him down for the season no matter what.
Yeah,
'Cause they're
definitely.
out.
Yeah,
All right, let's
that's your franchise. So
yeah. All right, well, let's end kind of on a positive note. I say that. I am battling for a playoff spot this week. I was in fantasy football. I'm now 8-5. I was playing against a guy who was in a three-way tie for first place with me. I was up 33 points, I think, going into last night. He had one person left to play. I had no one left. Of course, I have Christian McCaffrey. He appears to be done for the year.
yeah,
Which my first claim is for Isaac Garindo, and I'm dropping McCaffrey. Just because how could you not at this point? I hate it for him, but it's been a disappointing number one pick for sure, no matter how you slice it.
it's been an all-time
Yeah, but
disappointing number one pick.
okay, I end up losing by 5 points or so because guess who I had to play last night? Jerry freaking Judy, who put up 40 and a
I had
half
him on my
points.
bench. Props to that guy for actually starting him.
Well, yeah, sure. Props to him because he yeah, he put it to me last night. As a neutral person watching, it would be very fun to watch, see him do that against his old team. And Jameis, it was a very Jameis Winston game. Throws for
Yes,
a
it
million
was.
yards, throws for a million yards, 4 touchdowns, but then throws 3 picks, at
Yep.
least one of which is a pick six to end the game. Now they're not in that game without Jameis, but they were out of it too because of Jameis at the end. But say what you want about Jameis Winston, I don't know how you can root if you don't have a dog in the fight. I don't see how you can't root for that
No.
guy. I just really like the guy. Like I just like even seeing his. You know how they show the graphic of the quarterback just kind of flipping the ball and Jameis doing his version of it as it's happening. I loved every bit of
Yeah.
it. And what did he say in the post game presser as far as uh I can't remember something about Lord Jesus, don't let me throw don't something about don't let me get infected with these pick sixes or
Yeah.
I'm butchering that, but that was essentially
It
the
was something along
message.
those lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I hope that guy is the Browns quarterback for the foreseeable future. If anything, just so I can continue to see interviews like that pre-game, post-game, during the game. And he's a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson right now. I mean, he threw for like 500 yards last night. I mean, the guy can still throw,
yeah.
just the decision making is still knuckleheaded at times,
Yeah.
especially down the stretch when it matters.
Mm.
Um, that needs to continue to be coached out of him. But I'm rooting for the guy, man. I'm rooting for the dude.
I'm sure you'd be pleased to know that I'm went 11-2 in my big time fantasy league and have a first round playoff bye. The trash time touchdown of Lamar Jackson won me won me my game against the guy who I was tied with for the division. So I won by 5 points.
Well, congrats to Brad. I lost by 5, but I'm battling for a playoff spot. You're well into one. We'll update that in more fantasy football and everything, conference championship week and all that next week. But until then, we're out of time, so we're going to get out of here. I'm Graham Powell.
Brother Brown.
Deuces, y'all.
Peace.